So, welcome to the show, Shabsie.
Glad to be here, Sarah. As I said, always like to talk to like-minded people in the industry, especially nowadays when we can vent together on everything going on. So I'm sure there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. I am so excited to have you here. I have a business in this space and I share a lot of your frustrations around how outdated the industry is and the challenges that brings to an already very complex space. So I'm really looking forward to putting the shipping world to rights with you today and chatting about the ways we can innovate and drive the industry forward. So let's dive in. You founded Shifl fairly recently in 2019. So, what was your journey to that point? What challenges had you been facing in your career that you thought, you know what, I have a great idea and a solution for this?
So that's interesting. Actually, my first job it was in the industry. So lucky me, I got thrown right into this industry after school. And then I kind of saw that we're relying a hell of a lot on fax machines. So that was like my first hey,
Okay.
this was probably 12 years ago, and it was like something doesn't add up. We're sitting by the fax machines waiting for documents back and forth. Did we get it? Did we not get it? Is it missing? Is it not missing? But in general, my background was always more geeky, more technologies back when Palm Pilots and Blackberries. So I was always very into that, programming, software, and all of that. So with my eyes looking at the industry the way it was, every step of the way I was able to see an opportunity. This should not be like that. This shouldn't have been like that. You know, the way technology is, all these mistakes happening, all the issues that were happening, all the questions from customers, or the ways everything was happening. I was like, in an ideal world, these things should not be happening.
Right.
However, when it comes to an industry that's been set up a certain way for years, change is not easy.
No.
And I felt the right way to do that is to kind of start from fresh, start from the ground up, and started the way my ideas and my visions are. So I was in the industry quite a while at the company that I was prior before. That was a very large New York-based freight forwarding company, and I left the company early 2019. That's when I started Shifl.
Amazing. And that's such a great journey, right? I know from experience being in operations and getting your hands dirty within the industry, really, you get to understand what's broken, what's working, what's not working. I mean, you talk about fax machines. I remember using typewriters for checks. And that's just crazy to me. And we're still using Excel. I mean, fax machines maybe not, but Excel for sure. So tell us about Shifl then. What does it do and how does it help its customers?
So Shifl is we started it from the ground up based on our imagination of how this industry can look and be in 5 years from now. We're looking at this industry and we're seeing this is how we feel this should be. Unfortunately for freight forwarders, there's nothing really off the shelf that can really help. Everything off the shelf is based on the traditional ways of doing things, as I like to call it. So, following the earlier topic is I felt to do this right, it has to be from the ground up. I put together a full team of programmers and started the company based on this vision. And everybody that works here knows this is the way we're doing things. The creativity is to think outside of the box and how we can do things. So basically, this is the way we build our software solution every single day. So when it comes to bookings, when it comes to tracking containers, when it comes to processing shipments, when it comes to customs, when it comes to containers gated in, gated out, this is the way we look at the industry. How can we automate? How can we avoid mistakes? How can we make it more efficient? And as an end result, a much smoother experience for the customer and a much more efficient experience for everyone. Starting, everything starts at a purchase order for sure. That's when the
Yeah.
customer issues a purchase order. And most forwarders are not going to be involved at that point. And ideally, the forwarder should be involved, especially with what's going on right now. I always like to say the analogy in our industry. It's unfortunate the way it is, but it's like if you're going to go travel on an airplane, it's like you can plan your trip 5 months ahead. And when it comes to the day of the flight, you're going to show up to the airport and you're going to see, let's say the plane has 150 seats. You see about 500 people showed up to the same plane and everybody's trying to get onto the plane. And then you get bumped, right? You get bumped for the next day and the next day. And that's exactly what's happening in our industry. Everybody's producing cargo. No one is kind of thinking about how am I going to move this cargo? When am I going to move it? What is the pricing going to be like? Everybody's just booking cargo and they're contacting the forwarder. Hey, I have the goods ready. Can we move it? And now these vessels have a certain capacity. It's a pity. I feel that the whole GRI game works towards an advantage for the carriers when it comes to this kind of structure. But in an ideal world, a company should be able to plan their production in advance and even book the space in advance, and that would give the visibility and benefit for that customer to be able to know when to book their cargo and know that they're secured with their rates. And then in return, the carrier knows what's coming on. But that's unfortunate what's happening right now. So we try to get involved at an early stage, which is basically when the customer issues the purchase orders. We have customers using our software for the purchase orders, especially smaller customers. And then we have larger customers that we're integrated with, and the purchase order will be moved over to us via API, preferably. And now our teams overseas, I forgot to mention that we as part of what we do, I'm establishing a worldwide team of people that's what we do. We move cargoes. So having boots on the ground in those key locations are critical. And even furthermore, our customers get to communicate with our origin offices. And I found a huge advantage in that way of working.
Yeah.
So the typical way of working is there's an agent overseas, let's say China, for example, and then there's an agent over a forwarder here, and they'll be communicating with the agent. There's a lot of urgent decisions that need to be made on a daily basis. So let's say something happens at night, the factory's not ready to move the cargo. We just had a decision last night where the carrier didn't have 40 high cube equipment. They were able to release 45 equipment. And we needed the customer to make that decision because they can have a hard time with chassis. I didn't just want to make that decision. So in a typical manner, those decisions are not going to be able to be made in time because the person that's responsible for it here might not be available. They'll come in the next morning, have their coffee, take care of the urgent things, and they'll get to it later in the afternoon.
Right.
The way we operate is our customers and our origin offices communicate on those bookings. Our system will be processing those bookings, the bookings to the customers with the options, and then they'll be communicating with the origin. And when something happens, a lot of our customers sleep with their phones under the pillow, so they'll be able to answer right away. And those issues will be able to get resolved very, very quickly instead of it taking days and delays. So that's just one of the benefits of being able to communicate with our offices directly. In a very short period of time, we've built up offices in many key locations, and we're continuing to build those. Right now, we have in Asia, we have China is a very big location for us, Malaysia, India, Vietnam, Philippines, and we're continuing to grow that. We have a big team in the Dominican Republic, and we have people working for us in Georgia. So we're heading out on all these different key locations. We're doing something in Germany very soon. I feel like for the success of our software, for the success of what we're trying to do, having boots on the ground is a necessity. So
Absolutely.
so going back to the process is essentially getting involved at an early stage, communicating with our offices. Customers can choose to use their contracts that they have, but in most cases, unfortunately, in the recent past, a lot of the cargo had to move on the spot rates, on the higher spot rates, on the premium. And from there on, I mean, just walking through our platform, I don't know if we have anything planned later on walking through the platform, but we kind of got bumped into that. So, so let's say I'll give you a small example. Monitoring if a factory has picked up a container in time, or returned a container before the cutoff. Those things traditionally are very manual, and they do not get done in most situations. So when is the customer going to find out that their shipment delayed? Probably when it was supposed to depart and it didn't depart, or maybe even sometimes when it was supposed to come in and it didn't come in. So with the technology that we have, with the integrations that we have, we are able to see live if the empty container was picked up at the origin, if the full container was returned. So those are all live statuses that we're getting fed from our integration. So we can now have an automated process around that, being able to let those factories know, let those customers know, hey, this container wasn't picked up, wasn't returned, so they can take preemptive steps to do the necessities. Now, ETAs, departure dates, those are unfortunately very, very unreliable now. And the best we can do for the customers is for them to be aware of what's going on. At least they know if there is a delay, and they know ahead of the game, ahead of time, that they can do much more than just finding out when it was supposed to be. And so with the automated integration, we the second there's a delay, our customers will know about it. So that was a
Right.
big thing. ETA automatic updates. Something pretty cool that we're thinking, we have a way like we have access to the IMO numbers for the vessel. We can technically display the vessel locations. In the beginning, we thought it's just going to be a cool feature. But what ended up happening in California, it actually is very handy. Customers used to
Right.
call us, hey, the ETA was 2 weeks ago. What's going on? And we were just like, hey, go to the app, check out, and you'll be able to see exactly where that vessel is located. And that's a huge help because they can actually see the movement of the vessel. Except when the customer calls us freaking out that it's moving towards San Francisco. What's going on? He's not in the line. Why is he not in the line? I was like telling the customer, it doesn't work like that. You're not on day camp waiting for cookies to be given out. There's a process behind it. But in most
Right.
cases, the customers know there's no phone call necessary. We can see where that vessel is located. We see it's in the area. It arrived. It's going to be discharging hopefully sooner than later. So that's
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, without going into far more, there's so much detail, so much friction in our industry, but it's just the way we try to approach things, the way we try to think about things, and using technology towards that advantage with our custom software.
Well, and folks, I mean, this is what happens when somebody who's been in the industry, got their hands dirty, has experienced everything, turns that into a technology solution that fixes all sorts of challenges that you're having on a daily basis. This is what that looks like. I mean, for example, when you were talking about how the customer can communicate directly with the agent, I mean, that's a game changer. You're taking people out of the equation that is eating up precious time for the client to be able to make those very crucial decisions that could, add on a day or take off a day. And those days, especially right now, are very, very, very precious. And so it sounds like, you've really thought about everything. Not only from a forwarding perspective, but definitely from a shipper perspective and where those gaps are. But I want to talk about cost as well because cash flow, lines of credit, constantly changing quotes and POs, it's a huge challenge in shipping. I mean, if you think about all of those containers sitting in the port of LA and Long Beach and all the capital that has been poured into that for that product to even leave, and then obviously the money that they're spending on moving the product. I mean, there's so much money out there in the water. So how have the rate changes affected customers' businesses? How has Schiffel supported them through that?
So yeah, many customers have been going through very, very rough times. At the same time, there are customers that are actually doing much better. Every customer for itself is in their own situation. So there are, let's say, high margin companies, high margin products. Their priorities are to get products in at any cost. They cannot afford a delay. They got to get the products in because there's such a demand for products. At the same time, if we're going to be looking at someone that ships furniture or that ships kitchen cabinets, those are companies that are really struggling. Those are companies that are not able to raise the prices to their customers as much. We have some customers that have predetermined contracts that have been done a while ago, and they still have to deliver on those prices. So those customers are really struggling. We felt that you know taking every customer by itself, assessing their needs and assessing the type of company they are, and then working with them to see this is the best way we can help you guys throughout this challenging time. So to start with, are we going to be focusing on the price? Are we going to be focusing on the container getting out there? And it just doesn't work together. There's premium rates. There were
Right.
rates going up to over $20,000, but those were the rates that we knew that the container is actually going to move. At the same
Hmm.
time, if the customer ships furniture, they're not able to pay those prices. We had to start being creative about getting them cheaper rates, but at the same time, they're going to know that they're delaying the product tremendously. And then on the incoming side, we had to really work with our customers to help them out because typically we would be laying out anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 to $3,000, and all of a sudden those rates went up to 20,000. Forwarders were like putting customers on COD, and that even put
Right.
customers in a much tougher spot when it came to that. And if they don't pick it up in time and the merge starts accumulating, that can put a customer out from business very quickly. So
Yeah.
we tried working with customers as much as possible. One of the things we are kind of unique and different is that we allow customers to pay us with credit card without a fee, which means that we have the ability.
Wow.
Uh, Should we shut this off?
That is a big deal because those fees on your side, especially with freight costs as high as they are, can be fairly high costs for you on your
Yes.
side.
So when we started the company, this was one of the ideas I came up with, and I wanted to be different, and we wanted to have a way also because I bootstrapped this myself. I back to the way I like to do things and the way I like to sometimes do things that short term might not be financially. Might not make financially sense, but long term. So that the way to do it is obviously if I can be able to do it without having to answer to people that are looking on short term profits. So one of the ideas that we came up in the beginning was if we're going to be able to do that, not only will this allow us to be able to grow faster, but at the same time, we can reduce our risk, give customers a tremendous benefits. People were traveling back then, and if someone can put their freight onto credit cards, you can essentially cover the traveling for your entire company, and
Yep.
then you get the float. We have customers that we have multiple credit cards, and they're able to float an average of 40-45 days between the credit cards. So when the rates started going up, we were thinking about, now it's going to start costing us a lot more, but at the same time we were like, this is a real help for customers. This is the way we can differentiate ourselves with our customers and help them out and keep the momentum going. So we were kind of going on with this, and that helped a lot of customers be able to continue and pay us versus paying a fee on the credit card, not being able to do it. At the same time, we were working with our insurance companies to get our customers approved for higher limits. Some companies had just on the reports some minor things, were able to fix up their credit and get them approved for higher credit limits. So there's a lot we were able to do with customers to work with them and help them out throughout the challenging times until the rates now thankfully, hopefully we're not going to see those 20,000 numbers again, but that bubble kind of popped for now, and rates dropped more like to 9 to 14,000 depending where it goes, and it's become a little bit easier now for customers, and we're moving a lot more of those products that they were holding back, the furniture products and the cheaper products.
Yeah. Well, and I like to hear that because when I talk to my friends in procurement, right, and we talk about how they work with their suppliers and how it's been very important not only for smaller suppliers to really extend those credit terms so that everybody comes out of this somewhat okay. And so it's nice to hear that on the forwarding side, somebody like a Shifl is thinking about that as well and being able to offer those kind of services no matter what size of business that you're working with. And so I think that that was really smart, and I'm so glad to hear that. Now,
What
you
one of the
mentioned.
other I forgot to mention one of the other things, and I think that's important for people to know. Right now, with containers sitting at the LA ports for 3 weeks, most people are just used to paying their product before the container comes in. There's
Right.
no need to pay if their container is going to be sitting. So we set up a way for customers to be able to see when those containers are going to be discharging in our software, and now they have the ability to keep that cash flow for another 2 to 3
Awesome.
weeks. So that's a very critical point for people today's days.
Yeah, huge deal. Now, you mentioned earlier API, and I want to talk about integration, and it's kind of a two-part question, right? First, the technical integration. How does that work? And then secondly, I also want to know about the collaborative integration because I believe from the research that I've done before this interview that you can connect with all parties involved in your shipment within the Shifl platform. So let's talk a little bit about both of those because integration is a huge part when you're looking at platforms and making sure that everything's talking to each other.
Right. So if we're going to be looking at automating this industry, at increasing the efficiency and removing all the disconnect that's happening, obviously we want our systems talking to each other. And the thing is, logistics is a puzzle, literally a puzzle. There are so many parties involved in so many different aspects. And the traditional industry was never used to having those integrations, and EDI doesn't come close to the things we can do with API. Talking about in general integration, whatever we can do now as the industry progresses, being able to adapt to that, and more companies coming on board, that's really when things are going to start flowing smooth. But for now, we have to do a lot of workarounds, and for now, certain situations, we would need to do workarounds in order to be able to do integrations, because not every party has the ability to have those APIs. So there's a two part process here. There's the part of us being able to give our customers the information that we have, and that obviously is an open API. We're able to give the customers any information they need from us with an API connection, and they can just take that information and feed it to whichever system they would like to feed it. Or we'll help them out with some EDIs for some customers that don't have that ability. And now on the other end, for us to be able to get the information, there's so many different parties involved, and our goal is is to get these parties integrated. So start from carriers, start from terminals overseas, then and booking with carriers, carrier information. Then you have in transit now, ISF, AMS. So those are things we were able to automate through our system. So we're able to file ASF through our system, AMS, ISF, AMS from our system. And interestingly, if you file both from our system now, there's no chance for information being different, because they're both coming from the same source. And
Right.
the most important one is going to be integrating with customs, and basically being able to file customs entries efficiently. Especially the way our system works is we have our customers product classified, so it's a kind of two-step process. The traditional way would be, all right, the shipment is coming in, they look at the invoice, and they would be like, okay, this is the way we're going to classify it, and then they start keying in that entry. If we were able to separate the classification process, so now our customers will have their products in there and classified as a separate process. So when the customs entry, when it comes time to do the customs entry, we're able to just put in the item numbers, and we have all the information necessary to essentially get it customs released with zero input. So that's huge. Companies have 70, 80 employees just sitting and keying in customs entry. So imagine how much money and
Yeah.
efficiency that can help here. Now, customs is big. Getting data from carriers is big, and we had a partnership. We have a partnership with a company called Terminal 49,
Yes.
and yes, so
Oh,
that
fun.
Akshay, the Akshay and his team have been amazing in getting us accurate information, which is all we're looking for, is reliable information. Because if the information is not reliable, now we cannot use that data to automate and build
Right.
around that information.
Hmm.
I see the sun is starting to come, and I hope it's not affecting too much. But from my end, I'm seeing a little bit more difficult. But I hope my view is still visible. It just
Yeah,
came in.
you're a little bit darker, but I mean, it kind of happens. You're the also you're we're, I have to test video, so if the video works out, we'll use the video. Otherwise, we do the audio with audiograms anyways. So
Okay.
I have lots of options.
Okay, cool. So the Action and his team have been amazing with Terminal 49 and getting reliable data. And we have used that data in many ways, shapes, or form to integrate and automate the software. However, it's not a full service solution, because we have different carriers that, new carriers that are coming in. We have LCL shipments now. We have to be able to check all those LCL warehouses, customs
Yeah.
CES, container exam sites. So it's not a full service solution. So in order to be able to do it fully, I like we're continuing to integrate and to find different solutions, but we were looking at a goal of having our data be 100% accurate. So we physically put together a team of people, and anything that's not tracking automatically, we just track manually. So
Okay.
with that, being able to do like literally every day, multiple times a day, being able to track, now we can say our data is 100% reliable. And
Absolutely.
and the goal is to get to a point where it's going to be automated 100%. I would say effectively, we're getting probably 85% automation, and the other 15% is where we're still kind of um,
Amazing.
searching that manually. But that team is amazing. They're tracking these shipments multiple times a day, and especially when they discharge, they'll be tracking it even more. So we have our system kind of letting them know what to do. So that's one of the things we were able to implement to be able to have 100% accurate data. Um,
Great.
and, and and then is integration with let's see, payments. Traditional way of doing payments is sending out checks.
Yes.
Checks take time, need signatures, have to go by UPS. Can take it 2 days till it gets released. Very inefficient. And I can say since we started Shifl, we did not send out any piece of mail from the company, so that's a good thing.
Nice.
We're
And that's good
automated.
for that's good for sustainability as well.
Absolutely.
So listen, Shopsy, if I'm sitting in the audience right now and I'm, obviously loving everything that you're saying, who's your ideal client? So what does that look like? Is there a certain size? Is there a certain industry? Tell us a little bit about that.
Right, sure. So just step back 1 second. As far as the checks is, just being able to integrate with an automated ACH processing, we're able to just click a button, every account rep, and process that through automation. Not only that, we're able to offer our customers the same ability. So if they have their own contracts, they can use our system to do their own BCOs. Now, as far as an ideal customer, it's I like to say a company that imports is an ideal customer. However, every customer is unique. Every customer has their own setup, depending how big they are, and we're trying to set up the software to be able to cater to smaller and larger customers. And right now, we have customers on our platform anywhere between 5-10 containers a year, or even less, and we have customers that bring in 5 to 10,000 containers a year. Obviously, those are going to be two different breeds. However, at the end of the game, it's a similar process, and it's similar things happening, and we can accommodate both. To start with, the personal touch that a customer needs, we cannot remove that. As much as we're going to be automating, as much as we're going to be making progressing into the digital age, in our industry, that personal touch is extremely necessary for someone to be able to reach out to his account representative within Shifl and have an instant chat, instant communication on anything they need. That's critical. So we're not trying to automate that. We're not trying to tell customers you're going to call an automated phone number and just key in your container
Right.
number and then you're going to get an ETA. And that's not happening. Every customer has an account rep. We have access to instant chat, WhatsApp, and email. So they're responsible for the account from beginning to the end. And now we can adapt to the accounts based on their needs, because everybody has certain ways of operating. And we do our best to be able to accommodate the accounts based on what they need. So when it comes to the smaller customers, those are pretty typical. They'll typically use our SIFT software for everything because they don't typically have in-house softwares. So they'll be able to use our system to a very large extent. And there's going to be, for them, being able to log on, see the bookings, approve the bookings. They're not going to have their own contracts. We're not going to have any special contracts for them. So those are going to be moving on our spot rates. We're going to be handling their customs and deliveries, and everything is going to be streamlined to our system. Now, when it comes to larger customers, which we've worked with, is setting up their requirements. So a lot of the larger customers have their own contracts, BCO contracts, and a lot of the larger customers have multiple different folders. And this is one of the things. This is which really is outside of the box. Is we did not want to limit our software for customers that only ship with us. When we're going to go
Right.
sell a customer our software, and they're going to be like, okay, but now I have to ship with you, so now it's a
Right.
problem. So we have our software open for those customers to be able to use it even for containers that did not move through the Shifl
Awesome.
freight forwarding. The Shifl freight forwarding is an add-on. We can offer that if it's necessary for the customer. Now, typically a very large organization, depending on their needs, is going to want to be able to make decisions on bookings based on their BCO contract space, based on the pricing, based on the spot market pricing. And that's something that we can handle for the customer. So every single booking from our system is going to let them know, hey, this is your contract rates. This is the space on your contract rates. So you can choose your rates, but the carrier said there's no availability for another few weeks, or you can move it on the premium. So we'll be able to navigate the bookings on behalf of that customer, especially being on top of the purchase order. So a larger customer will have an integration with us. So the purchase order will be integrated. The items will be integrated in their system. It's going to be a two-way street. And
Right.
with our offices around the world, we will be able to kind of route and make decisions for their bookings together with them. And then they'll be able to use our platform to track all the containers, make sure everything is done in time, being able to have live visibility, live ETA updates, integration with customs. And there's so much more that, I mean, going into the details, but
Yeah.
um, just being able to have this one platform, that the TMS system where the entire import team can collaborate together. We're even launching now in beta is that collaboration tool on purchase orders, where the factories are able to log in, and now you're able to collaborate with the factories directly on the purchase order. That's pretty cool because you can issue those and now the system can be the intermediary between the factory and the customer. And then when it's ready, all the factory does is clicks a button. This is what's ready, and then I get transitioned into a booking. But
Absolutely. And you used a word that I absolutely love, which is collaboration, and I love 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 to hear that. So, let's bring everything that we've talked about to life with a case study. This is my favorite part. Why don't you paint us a picture of how you've worked with one of your customers? What was the challenge that they had? Obviously, they used your platform. So, what was the impact or ROI of your solution?
so I can think of two different types of case studies, which is the smaller customers and the larger customers. I mean, for one, it's pretty obvious. I mean, if we have a smaller customer who's been used to working with a freight forwarder via email and not having visibility and being overcharged on those on the rates, and the whole process just being one big hassle, being able to just
Right.
come over to Shifl and having the seamless operation, having the visibility, having the personal account rep, that's just something that is hard to find, especially being able to communicate with our offices overseas. But the bigger case studies would be more with the very large clients. Those are customers anywhere between using Excel for their import operations, maybe still fax machines,
Right.
and those are customers either that have other software they've been using. And when it comes to a company that brings in 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 containers. Those are companies that need to have a software that has all their containers in there, that tracks all their containers, that lets them know everything, what's going on. It's a full-fledged TMS system with what we built. So they're able to actually get the live visibility, have the integration with customs, and still utilize their BCOs, utilize their contracts, and utilize the full end-to-end integration. So those are companies that we typically will work with in a little bit of a larger project to be able to offer some custom solution if they need to. But thankfully, that has been very successful. And I can't really mention too many names, but we're working with a lot of large importers that were able to streamline their operations significantly. And when we see it, and when we see the end of the product once it's set up, it amazes me how just how we can take something and make it so streamlined just with pieces of code. And I think it's going to be exciting to see, especially after the chaos that we've gone through now, how the industry will adapt and learn from the
Yeah,
mistakes and further embrace technology versus trying to change the way things were, the ancient
absolutely.
way.
Yeah, and how fast can you get somebody up and running on your platform?
Well, we can get them up and running in 2 minutes. It's just to sign up and having them up and running. If there's going to be certain custom necessities to kind of get their existing data in there, or they're going to want something specifically set up for them, that's going to be a little bit of more time. But the basics is pretty simple. The unfortunate part is we had to close the automatic sign up because during the most difficult seasons of the year, it wasn't like anybody had extra capacity or extra the ability to take on too many customers. And it's counterintuitive because we were getting signups and we were trying. It was exciting to get the momentum, get customers coming, but at the same time, we felt that it's not fair for existing customers, and we
Right.
stopped the automatic sign up and we focused on servicing the existing customers. We're getting to a point now where it's becoming a little bit easier, especially to the West Coast. Interestingly, the West Coast has the biggest backup, but somehow the space to the West Coast is becoming cheaper. I feel, and I'm very confident that we're going to see some sort of more stable rates now till maybe prior to Chinese New Year, where we're going to maybe see an uptick. There's a lot of vessels coming back from LA after this congestion, and that's hopefully one of the last products of the ripple effect. I'm very confident that after Chinese New Year, the industry is going to have a chance to catch up, and hopefully, a lot of customers learned the hard way that buying early and shipping early is not such a bad thing. And hopefully, throughout the next year, especially throughout the traditional quiet months, February, March, April, May, the industry will have some opportunity to catch up and get back to some of normalization. So I'm confident about it and hopeful that that's actually going to happen.
Absolutely. And I like that prediction. I'm sure
We'll see.
everybody in the audience likes that prediction as well because everybody's sort of like, when is this going to end? Well, I like the fact that you talked about future trends in the industry, but I want to know what the future looks like for Schiffle. What does that look like? What do you have that you're working on? What are you looking forward to in 2022?
There's a lot of exciting stuff we're working on. We have more than we can handle, and we're constantly growing the team to be able to accelerate our ideas and bring it into vision. We're building an ecosystem. We're building a freight ecosystem. Our goal is for a company to be able to design products and sell them, and everything else is Shifl. And we're getting there, and we're adding on a lot of cool tools for our customers to be able to forecast, to be able to, see their inventory, and we're adding e-commerce integration. So we're doing a lot of creative things for our customers as we move on into the upcoming year. And that's essentially the ultimate goal is for us to be the go-to for the supply chain from beginning to the end, so our customers can focus on producing and selling, and we'll do the rest.
Absolutely. Well, that all sounds amazing. And I cannot wait to see how you continue to grow and expand. I mean, it's a bit of a scary time for us supply chainers right now. Disruptions are stacking up and creating complex sets of challenges that we can't really pick apart. So, solutions like Shiffle that just help to create overall connectivity, visibility, and collaboration mean that we can work more efficiently, more creatively, and it just means that we're better equipped to problem solve and react more quickly to everything that's thrown at us. Shabzi, tell us where everybody can find you. What's your website?
It's shifl.com, shifl.com. And that's where you
I
find
love
us.
that.
And just you can email us anytime at hello@shifl.com. We'd love to hear from you. And just pop by, say anything, and we'll respond to you guys.
Really, really easy 5 letter domain. I love that. So, a big thanks to you, Shabzi, for joining us today and to Schiffel for making this episode happen.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Likewise, hope to do this again sometime.